we've done our pie base, the pie short crust. We've got our rough puff, our rough butter puff resting in the refrigerator, in the cool cast. We've done our sauce, and that's resting in a shallow pan so that the temperature's taken out. We don't want it really hot, you know, like somewhere between blood temperature and 50 is fine, yeah? So now it's time to put it all together. And we're going to whack it together in these trays. You can get these from Heroes. I've used these trays before. You can use yours again, yeah? You don't need to buy trays every time. Okay, here we go. Let's put it together. Let's flour our bench. Let's take our rested pie base. I'm going to cut about 25% off. Well, I'll do half. We'll do half. So I'm going to cut half off, yeah? I'm going to quickly just work that down a bit so I can get a rectangle. Remember, when we roll that out, we always want to roll out a rectangle. We're not making pizza, we're making pie. It's a lot easier if you get your shape before you start. So that's us. We've got our shape. We're on our way. You see how easy that rolls out? Watch that, you see it? Watch this, yep. See that? Over the pin, roll it back. That was just starting to grab here on the bench, yeah? So I need to put more flour in there. See how that's picking up that moisture on the bench there? Just starting to grab again, I can feel that. I want to put a sprinkle over the top. I'm after a rectangle. I'm not far off. You see that thickness? That thickness is pretty damn good. Put a bit more of a sprinkle of the flour in. See the moisture again? See that? See it's picking up there? I can draw my finger through it. You see that? It's picking up the moisture on the workbench. That's done, yeah? That's pretty well done. I'm going to roll that back out on the bench and I'm going to oil up my tins. So we've rolled out the pastry. I've got my aluminium tins. All I'm going to do now, whilst that's resting for 5 minutes, I'm going to oil up half a dozen tins. I'm going to lay them over here. I'm going to roll that pastry over the top. So, just paper towel, just use paper towel. Rip off a bit, yeah? If you've got a pastry brush or something like that at home, fine. If not, just use some paper towel, yeah? It works just as well. So, I'm dipping into my extra virgin olive oil. And I'm just oiling my tins, yeah? With this pastry, with that butter content, you'll find they don't stick. And as I've said before, I've used these L4 tins before. And there's no reason why you can't use them at home, like I do in my home, and reuse, yeah? So there you go, I've got 6. If you have a look at my pastry, I could do more than 6, but I'll show you what I'm going to do. When I roll that over, I'm going to cut off some of the scrap, and I'm going to put it into a ball, and I'm going to use that to push into the tin as my mould. I'm cutting off some of this excess. I'm going to use that to push my pastry into, these tins, yeah? Now all I'm doing is working that around. You can do that in your 2 hands, yeah? Yeah? There you go. So I'm going to use that with a bit of flour. And this is how I'm going to push my pastry into those tins. From the outside, I'll lift it up. That's what I work with. That's what comes in, yeah? You see that? So I've used the offcuts to push the dough into the tin, yeah? That's pretty sweet, yeah? Okay, we'll put that aside because we'll use that later on. Those offcuts will end up being a pie base. The base itself, as long as you don't overwork it, you can use it to push them in and whatever else. So, okay, now we're going to put the sauce in, yeah? The sauce has cooled down. Remember our puff pastry that was resting in the cool cuss in the refrigerator? It's been in there for about an hour now, and it needs to rest in a refrigerator. The puff pastry has a science within itself. I don't understand it, but it does, yeah? And there's certain rules with puff pastry you have to follow. So we've put our sauce, we've done our pie base, we've oiled our tins, we've done the pastry, we've put our fill in. We're going to roll out that puff. And then we're going to put the puff over the top. So this is where we're at the stage now where, you know, you can put some variations into your pie. I've got some mozzarella cheese. These last couple, I'm just going to sprinkle some mozzarella cheese on the top there, yeah, before I put the pastry on top. Now, that'll be a beef and mozzarella cheese pie. Yeah. What you can also do is you can slice tomato quite thinly, and you can lay the 1 and 2 slices of tomato over the top. You can slice onion thinly and lay onion over the top. And this is before we put the pastry over. And, you know, like, I mean, they're great. If you're going to make a fresh pie, there's nothing better than putting the fresh sliced tomato and the fresh onion on the top before you put the puff pastry over it. Same as I've done with the cheese. So we've rested our puff pastry, our butter puff. We've rested that for an hour, probably an hour and a half actually. So we're going to take it out of the fridge now, and we're going to roll that, and we're going to put that over the top. I've taken my puff pastry out of the fridge, and it's been resting in the refrigerator. You see my pies, you see my pastry. Essentially what I want to do is I want to make this fit over the top of that. So again, it gets back to rolling in rectangle, yeah? So I've taken this straight from the fridge. This is a butter puff. It's rolling well. It's working well, actually. For a butter puff, it's working well. That's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. Actually, I'm very happy with that. That's not a bad butter puff, that. That's working well, yeah? You see how it's still pretty rigid, but that's because it's been in the refrigerator, yeah? So it's still cold. But that's what I want. I need to work this butter puff while it's cold. If I work it while it's warm, the layers will start splitting, they'll start merging, and I won't be able to get it to puff up the way I want, yeah? Yeah, when we do this, there'll be a few offcuts that come with this, and it's important that I demonstrate how we can merge those offcuts. A butter puff, same as any other puff, we can't just we just can't scrunch it back together. We have to layer the scraps on top of each other so they still maintain the layers. This is almost there, yeah? Let's just let that rest for 30 seconds before we throw it over the top. What we do have to do is we have to knock up an egg wash. This one, I'm just going to use egg and water. 1 egg, equal weight water. What I'd like to go on with now is I have to get the butter puff, the butter rough puff, on top of the pies. But in saying that, we have to do what we call, it's like a glue, yeah? It's like a binding agent. It's where we bind that bottom pie pastry to the top rough puff butter pastry. And to do that, I've got to do an egg wash. Now, there's a couple of egg washes. There's an egg wash where you can use milk, and there's an egg wash where you can use water. I'm going to use water. To me, and it's an equal weight, egg and water. So, 1 egg, 1 plate, 1 crack, equal weight water, 1 fork, whisk that in, That's what I call an egg wash, yeah? And that is going to be my binding agent to join my top pastry with my bottom pastry. Simple, easy, yeah? Equal weights, egg, water. Egg 25 grams, water 25 grams, easy. Paper towel again. If you have a pastry brush, use a pastry brush. Yeah? If you don't have a pastry brush, just use a bit of disposable paper towel, yeah? And what we want to do is we want to run around the rim. We'll just run around. Don't be too overly concerned if you don't get all of it. It really is just to run around, yeah? Okay, done that. Have pastry. Oh, sorry, we'll do that again. You see how to lift the pastry up, I picked up the first bits, I threw it over on the roll, and then I bring the roll back on itself, yeah? I'm applying no pressure at all. Now I have the pastry lined up, and I roll the pastry over the pies, yeah? Now, what we can do here, if our tins are lined enough, we'll just roll it a bit like this, over the tins. Just gives it a little bit of a head start, yeah? You see that? We have a fork, punch a couple of holes, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Try not to go through to the bottom. You really only want to touch the top of the pie tins, yeah? Sharp knife. One tin. Two tins. Okay, let's focus back here to the pastry. What I want to do is I want to keep that puff pastry, yeah? So I want to be able to separate that bottom pastry from the top pastry, yeah? And this is technically, this is where we have to be serious about what we're doing, because I want to keep that top pastry because I want to use it again. So I'm peeling that away from my bottom pastry, yeah? So here I peeled away that top pastry. This is the bottom pastry. The bottom pastry you can whack back together, yeah? Roll it in, throw the thumb in to the side, yeah? And that's okay, yeah? We can use that again. The puff pastry. This is where it gets back to knowing how to use your puff, yeah? We want to use those offcuts again, yeah? But we have to layer that puff back over, yeah? So we just layer that back over, yeah? Press it down a little. Layer that back over. Press it back down. Layer that back over. Layer that over. That's bottom. That goes in there. That's bottom. Okay, so we've laid that down. We fold that in like that, over like that. Push that down like that. That puff is ready to go on our last roll. I put that back in the refrigerator. On our last roll of pies, we'll use that puff. That'll do the 6. Okay, we're back again. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can either thumb and finger like this. Remember, it's fingers, two fingers, one thumb, yeah? 2 fingers, 1 thumb. Thumb and finger. Thumb and finger. Thumb and finger. 2 fingers, 1 finger, yeah? Thumb, finger, thumb, finger, thumb, finger, thumb, finger. I get my children to do this when I'm making pies. Both David and William, they're great at it. They know how to do it. Another way is use a fork, yeah? We've already cemented that down when we rolled that over earlier on. So we just run that fork around the side like that, yeah? Gives a nice print. We'll do another one, yeah? This is a good one. Using the fork, yeah? Back of the fork. Down, down, round, 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 yeah? Nice. It'll give a nice finish, yeah? I'll do half with the fork and I'll do half with thumb and finger, yeah? These will come up great. Thumb and finger. Here, get rid of that. Thumb, finger, 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 bing, tang.